welcome back to Urban X-Files. My name is Keith, and today I'm going to talk more about the ghosts around the city of Liverpool. Today, it takes us to the Blackie that stands on the corner of Great George Street and Nelson Street, right in the heart of Liverpool's Chinatown. It was built in 1841 by Joseph Franklin. The structure is topped with an eye-catching domed roof, and it looks every bit as grand today as it did when it first opened. Originally, it was a Victorian Congregational church. The building was converted into an art centre in 1968 and is now the home to Great George's community cultural project. During the summer of 1988, a play scheme was being run at the Blackie in effort to keep some of the city's holidaying school children busy. There was a young boy who was around the age of 9 and spent much of that summer in the Blackie due to the fact both his parents were involved with running the activities, and as the kid explained in his own words as what he experienced. I think my dad's company might have been in charge of running the scheme that year, and that was why we were there all the time. There were various activities that you could do, such as making wooden aeroplanes, modelling things out of paper mache, and all that kind of stuff. My dad ran a poetry corner, and my mum was doing cookery on the top floor. There was a large bouncy castle room at the back of the building, and that was where the kids mainly stayed and played. The room with the bouncy castle in had its own toilet block. The next room forward was being used for the activities mentioned before. And finally, there was the dome at the front of the building, which housed a second toilet block. The toilets in the back room were a bit grim because everybody used to use them. And because my dad was working next door, I used to go through to him and then use the dome toilets instead. They were much cleaner, but a lot more isolated. When you entered the dome, you could still hear the music and talking going on next door. But the doors in the building were really thick and they blocked out all the sound once they were closed. On this particular occasion, I walked into the dome toilets to find them silent and seemingly empty. There were 5 or 6 cubicles running down the right-hand wall, but all the doors were shut except for the last one. Thinking that at least some of them might be occupied, I decided to use the furthest cubicle. Standing there doing what I came to do, having a pee, I saw 2 white, almost spherical shapes, roughly about half a foot to a foot in diameter, and they emerged from within the toilet. I remember thinking they came from the U-bend. They hovered in front of me for a second for about a foot above the toilet. I couldn't believe what was happening. It couldn't be real. These objects rose up suddenly and rushed past the left side of my face. At the same time, I felt a strong chill below across that side of my face. As I was doing up my pants, I backed out of the toilet and then bolted to the heavy door which led to the activity area. As I ran, I remember thinking, please don't let anything come out of any of the other cubicles. If that door hadn't have opened, there would have been a nice, neat, shaped, a human-shaped hole that went right through the door, is how he liked to describe it. And thankfully, it did, and much to his relief, the music and noise came flooding back in to feel that he was in a nice, safe place again. And he doesn't know what that experience was. It terrified him. Now, it was a good 5 minutes before the poor lad could even speak. He just couldn't get his words out to explain what had happened. And he went to see one of his friends. He said he thought it was amazing. But at the same time, he was too terrified to go back in to check it out. And I don't think, he says that he actually didn't ever go back into them toilets again, even if he had company. Contacting the staff at Great George's Community Cultural Project, which is it was getting some renovation work, the Blackie building, with a view to getting a bit of historical background on the building. Now, he was surprised, this is John Rippian, was surprised to get a short email containing the sentence, "The large entrance dome is said to be haunted." In a brief telephone call with the author of the note, he was informed that several people had spoken a feeling of a presence, cold spots and blasts of cool air in the dome in the past. Now, he was also told that a few years back, a group of supernatural investigators had spent the night in the building with a view to tracing to the root of these occurrences. After the stay, the group perpetually asserted that the dome was indeed haunted, and that they believed the ghost to be particularly upset by the loud noises. And the caller on the phone informed that the investigators thought that the children's events held in the building caused the spirit the most distress, as they were the noisiest. And all of this without having told him one word of this young lad's story. So, as we were talking earlier about the Blackie, I managed to find another interesting encounter of things that happened inside. And this is the experience of a lady who was part of a group ghost hunt as such that night. And she said that her name was Annie, and she said that it was a cold night early in March of 2010, and she'd driven all the way from Wales to meet up with some friends who were paranormal investigators. We met at the Blackie in Liverpool, an old building right next to the largest Chinese arch outside of Chinatown in the area of the city. Now, it's an old stone building carved in soot and dirt from the years of stone pillars and a large dome. She was unaware of what to expect when she walked in. She said we were accompanied by some very curious people who'd chosen to spend the night on this ghost hunt. So they went in at 8 p.m. She says immediately she was taken back by the negative energy in the building. It seemed clouded in darkness and was very cold. Although everyone around Annie seemed to be in high spirits, and looking forward to the night. As always, she'd armed herself with various crystals, invoked the help of her angels. Then all the lights were turned off. Only the guide had the most minuscule of lights to prevent people from falling over. As we walked through the building, some people revealed that they were feeling a little headachy. Now, when investigating places myself, I do get this. There was a local guide who knew the entire history of the building and a professional psychic there too that evening. As we walked past the little area that was a tiny cylinder circular corner, she said that she heard a baby cry. So she informed the group of this, and she said his mother was weeping and she began to feel uneasy. The historical guide said that the area in which she was stood had once been a baptismal font. As the guide beckoned us to go upstairs, we all walked up to a wide wooden staircase with landings above us. I stepped on a stair and was immediately frozen still. I alerted one of my friends that I was struggling to breathe. There was a tightness around my neck that I could not explain, and it was getting tighter and tighter. The psychic medium took my hand, and as I asked my angel guides for help, and I was able to walk up the flight of stairs. When we got to a large room on the next floor, the historian revealed that a man had hung himself from the floor above, and the step on which I was standing was the very step they found his body hanging from. The higher we went up to the building, the lighter the energy became, and it was almost happy. But then, as the guide said, we should go to the basement. And so we did. Armed with my crystals and my guides, I stepped into absolute darkness. Even the guide turned off the light. Orbs, bright orbs, were everywhere, pure souls. But I could hear distress and crying. A voice said, "The Reverend Thomas hurts us." I immediately zoomed in on the far right-hand side of the room, where two boys were cowering and asking for her to please not let him get them. As I began to allow them to heal and go to the light, the psychic medium in the group said that there was a very sinister man trying to hurt this lady. He was punching me, kicking me, and screaming at me. So I clutched my crystals and got my angels on side and confronted him. I stood defiantly with my hands on my hips, and the smaller he became. The boys had gone into the light, as did the hanged man and the lady and her baby, who the old guide told me would have died in the fire. The paranormal investigation team picked up on so much energy and temperature changes and people feeling sick. There was even one person who fainted. I saw and heard a lot that night, and the paranormal investigators take a lot out of you. Exhausted at 3 a.m, I set off on my journey home. And this is just one of the experiences that people have encountered while investigating the Blackie. So I will be sure to see if this is a building I'll be able to do so sometime. So what do you think of the strange story and the ghosts of the Blackie? I have a few more of these I will try and find out for you and relate them in another video. But for now, thank you for watching, take care, and see you in the next.